Am I the a-hole for canceling my niece's college fund upon discovering what she's been doing to me and my wife for months? My wife and I struggled with infertility for years. We're still trying more options, but we're beginning to lose hope. I have a 16-year-old niece that is like a daughter and a friend to me. Considering I'm doing well financially, I've decided to take care of her education and start a college fund so she could attend a college of her choice. My brother and his wife, my niece's stepmom, are of course aware of that, and they appreciate it very much. They always talk about what a generous, loving uncle I am, like my younger brother. I've been dealing with a series of unusual, unexplainable events, like receiving texts at work from someone pretending to be my wife, informing me of some big news like her being pregnant, or finding mysterious envelopes in my car when I'm at my parents', and the envelopes contained letters from someone also pretending to be my wife, and again telling me she was pregnant. My wife and I had no idea who's been playing us like that. We knew it was someone close, and had many that made our suspect list, including my brother-in-law. Last week, I was visiting my brother's house and my car was parked in their driveway. I was sitting with my brother and sister-in-law when my niece left for a few minutes, then returned. I finished my coffee and said goodbye and left. While I was approaching my car, I noticed a sign on the windshield. I took a look, and the sign read, "I'm pregnant," written largely. I was confused because I knew no one from this neighborhood, and suspected someone who knew me did it. I called my wife, and she again said this was false news. I took the sign and went back to my brother's house to help figure this out. He said someone must have left it in the wrong car, but I explained it happened before. He just shrugged. But sister-in-law pointed at the sign and said the writing looked similar to my niece's writing style. My brother told her to stop, but I called my niece to come downstairs and ask her. She denied, but got nervous and admitted leaving the sign on my windshield, as well as sending/leaving letters and texts pretending to be my wife. But didn't have ill intent, just did it for laughs. I blew up, telling her she was out of line to think mocking mine and my wife's suffering and playing us for months was funny. I said I was mad, and that I was disappointed and won't ever look at her the same. I informed her, my brother and sister-in-law, that I officially canceled the college fund I started for her due to her cruelty and disrespect for us. She broke down saying she meant no harm or disrespect, and was just messing with/teasing me. My brother said I can't actually make this decision based on small mistake my niece made. He said this is her future that I was giving up on, and my decision will have a lasting impact. I cut the conversation and left after he tried to talk me out of giving her this harsh punishment. But to me, this was no punishment, just realizing she didn't deserve my hard-earned money. Brother said I exaggerated, and he actually thinks punishing her by taking away electronics and having her do work around the house should be enough punishment, not canceling the fund I started for her. But I already told him canceling the fund was not a punishment, but a reaction from me upon finding out what she's been doing for over 2 months. Now for the top comments. Not a hole, but it probably wouldn't hurt if you sent her a few mysterious texts that said, "You won a scholarship," just for laughs. I'd love that. Maybe then she'll learn that saying "I meant no harm" means jack, after months of causing harm. Not a hole, and your brother has no right to demand your money for anything. In what world would she believe this was funny? Why would you think that? Brother's immediate reaction of trying to shut down stepmom makes me think he was more aware of what was happening than has been let on. I thought the same thing. He had to know what was going on to deny and try to redirect so quickly. I get teens can be malicious, but it just seems weird for a teen to go this way when she's clearly close to both of them. So how much influence has her dad had on her actions? His reaction just makes me think something more is afoot. Not a hole. Put the money towards fertility treatments, or whatever path you chose. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for taking back the money I promised my daughter for her trip after she refused to watch her younger siblings for the evening? My daughter Zoe, 17, has been planning a trip with her friends for weeks and asked for my wife's and my help with money. I promised her that I'll be paying for her part of the trip, which is about $80 from stuff she needs for the trip, food and other expenses. Zoe appreciated this a lot since she normally pays for trips and other fun things with her own money, but she left her summer job not too long ago. 2 days ago was my wife and I's wedding anniversary. We planned to go out and celebrate in the evening, and I asked Zoe if she could watch her younger siblings, 3 and 9, while we're out. She said, "Sorry, I have plans for tonight," I asked her to elaborate, and she said she wanted to meet her best friend at a party before she leaves town, as her friend will be moving away this month. She suggested we get a babysitter, but it was already late for me to call and arrange for a babysitter. My wife suggested calling my sister, but my sister has enough on her plate to be watching our kids. I tried to convince Zoe to skip going out and watch her brothers, but she refused and said my wife and I could stay home and celebrate. But I told her we already reserved a table at a restaurant. I was getting pissed and brought up the trip that I was paying for and told her I would take the money back if she refused to watch her brothers for the evening. She said no, so I told her no trip then, unless she gets the money herself because I'm no longer paying for it. She screamed at me, calling me unbelievable for taking money back just because she wanted to attend her best friend's goodbye party and not wanting responsibility for her brothers. I refused to discuss it. I took the kids to my mother's house and left. My wife said I was too harsh on Zoe, especially since it's not her fault she doesn't want to be responsible for her brothers for the evening. I was puzzled. I told her it's just one evening. But still my wife thought I punished Zoe over nothing by taking the money I promised for her trip. Zoe isn't speaking to me, just cold shouldering me because of this. Edit. I just checked the comments and some were asking why I notified her last minute. The answer is because I assumed she'd be home like usual, so I never thought of needing to get a sitter. You're the a-hole. 2 points. Firstly, if the $80 gift had a strings attached, you ought to have made that clear from the onset. Introducing conditions retroactively sets the precedence that your gifts aren't really gifts at all, but tools used to manipulate and control. Secondly, you ought to have provided your daughter with sufficient notice, so that she can plan her schedule. What you did shows that you have zero respect for her time, and that you expect unquestioning obedience from her. Zero respect and expecting unquestioning obedience. That's OB in a nutshell. Complete a-hole. She suggested we get a babysitter, but it was already late. So it's too late to call a babysitter, but it's fine to not give your daughter any notice? You're the a-hole. Your daughter makes plans like you do, and deserves some notice if you want her to babysit. Respect this. Also, OB reserved a table. If he had time to reserve a table, he had time to either get a babysitter or give enough notice to his daughter. Your poor planning skills is not the fault of your daughter. She had plans, and you acted like a child when dealing with her. You're the a-hole. Clearly you had other options, because you took them to your mother's house. This is a joke, right? Yeah, you're the a-hole. Doesn't even sound like you asked in advance or tried to find a sitter at all. You waited until the last second when you felt she would have no option but to say yes. She called you on your nonsense, and now you were pissed about it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not forcing my daughter to spend the night at her bi-dad's house? I, 36 female, have a daughter, Lucy, 10. She was not quite 2 yet when I divorced her father, Larry, 40. There were many reasons. Firstly, he would claim to be taking money from our account to pay bills, yet every single bill was delinquent. He would check the mail and hide the shut-off notices. He was never able to explain what he was doing with our money. Also, I'd work all day to come home to my daughter in a dirty diaper, alone in her nursery while he sat around playing video games all day. Anyway, I decided it was best for all of us to divorce. I've been with Lucy's stepdad, Thomas, 35, for almost 4 years now, and he is the only other man I've had around her. We are all very amicable though. I've never brought her bi-dad to court for child support, as I agreed to handle it privately. Same with custody. She lives with Thomas and I full-time. Larry's supposed to pick her up Saturday night, and we would pick her back up Sunday by noon. He has a history of canceling on her for various reasons. Concerts, baseball games, anything under the sun. He was doing well for a while where he wouldn't cancel, until he met his most current girlfriend, Dolores, 33. Dolores has a 12-year-old daughter, Erin, who she believes Larry should prioritize over Lucy. Anytime Lucy does go to their house, Dolores is very cold and unkind to Lucy, and she purposely excludes her. They rent a 3-bedroom house, yet when Lucy is there, she is forced to sleep on a love seat. They did not bother to get her a proper bed in her own space. There was even a time when Dolores and Larry were driving home with Lucy and Erin and went through Wendy's drive-thru. They got Erin a meal and a drink. When Lucy told them what she wanted, they told her no, that she can have something at their house like cereal. Larry and Dolores have an incredibly toxic, codependent relationship. Dolores has been fired from 4 jobs within a year. Larry hasn't had a car in about 5 years, so he's completely reliant on her car to get to his job. Neither can afford to live on their own, and Lucy says they fight constantly. She no longer enjoys being there. A combination of Larry constantly bailing on her to how nasty Dolores is has made her not want to go. Not for overnights at least. She loves her dad, and we do have an amicable relationship 90% of the time. But his failure to stand up to Dolores is starting to cause issues. I've told him Lucy does not feel welcome there, and I refuse to force her to go if she doesn't want to. I would never stop her from going, but I will not force her either. He says she's 10, and Thomas and I are a-holes for basically letting Lucy make this decision on her own. So, am I the a-hole for leaving this decision up to my child? Now for the comments. Not an a-hole. They are treating your daughter badly. If your daughter doesn't want to go, she has good reasons. You are just trying to protect your daughter. Your Rex is the a-hole. Did he even try to deny the Wendy's incident or her sleeping arrangements? Nope. He tries to justify it. He said Erin was hungry from her soccer game and needed dinner. Which, are you kidding me? And he just says, oh, we're getting her a bed soon. Which he's said this for over a year. So it's one reason I told him she's no longer to spend the night there. And the fact that she doesn't have her own space is becoming increasingly important the older she gets. She's 10. What's he going to do when she's 12? Or older? This is not a 4-year-old. He is quite a douche, and so is Dolores. Thomas and I say the same thing. What is he going to do when she's 12? 13. It's just ridiculous. Get her a pull-out futon for Christ's sake. Anything better than a love seat. Not a hole, but go to court and get full custody and child support. No court would allow Lucy at her dad's house unless he has a bed for her. I'm in favor of amicable co-parenting relationships, but not fighting him about this may hurt Lucy in the long run. You need to do everything you can to make sure Lucy's dad is accountable as a parent, because right now, he is being enabled to be a terrible father. He clearly isn't taking that initiative on his own. Not a hole. 10-year-olds deserve to set their own boundaries. That sounds like a horrible situation, and I think you're doing the right thing not forcing her. If Larry can't get it together, he's going to be very confused when Lucy turns 18 and goes completely no contact. Also curious. Sounds like drug-related at the beginning? Could that be a contributing factor now? I've considered a substance issue thing regarding the money. I do have suspicions at the time that he was abusing prescription pain meds, but could never prove this, which is one of my reasons for ending it. I've never seen anything as of late since the divorce that leads me to think he is abusing still. However, I do constantly keep my eyes open. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying I don't want to do gifts anymore with my family because they come with conditions that I only find out about later? My parents have a habit of giving a gift and then later adding conditions on. I'll give a couple examples. I got a gift card for them all at Christmas. Thought it was just a gift. But then weeks later, I've had made plans of how to spend the money. Sports gear. My parents said the first thing I needed to buy was school supplies for the spring. Then I could use the rest on fun stuff. Then after that, I need to buy clothes for school to replace the clothes I thought were fine. But then I could spend the rest on myself. After they made me buy all that, nothing was left. I felt like all I got for Christmas was the hassle of being made to go out and buy things I don't want. When I get gifts for my birthday, my parents held it over my head, like to say that on a family vacation I'd be the childcare for my siblings, nieces, and nephews. Or else they'd take back the phone and hockey gear I got as a gift. When I asked for money for a school trip, my parents gave it to me, but then told me a month later that I had to miss a game to help my dad with housework, to repay them for paying for the trip. I find it frustrating when a gift comes with a secret conditions that I don't find out till weeks or months later. It feels less like a gift and more like a favor to call in later, or something told over my head. So when my birthday was coming up this year, my mom asked me what I wanted, and said I'd rather skip gifts with a family. My mom asked me why, and I told her that I think gifts, at least the way our family has done them, are more stressful than nice. It seems like they treat gifts as something with conditions but aren't clear what those conditions are when they're offering a gift. So then it feels like signing a contract that I wasn't allowed to read when I accept a gift. I have no idea what I'll owe, and for the next few weeks or months, I'll be waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then I told her I'd rather skip the family party and the gift giving and just do something chill with my friends. My mom was upset with me, saying stuff about tradition and how she doesn't do that I was cherry-picking frustrations when most gifts aren't like that. I said that I felt like it was more often than not. She told my dad about the conversation, and he was really upset with me, saying I was being ungrateful, and that when I was living under his roof, there were going to be conditions. Can't just go do whatever I want whenever. I said, okay, but I'd rather not have those conditions be linked to gift giving and holidays, because it makes holidays an unpleasant time for me. And that he can have rules, but he can't make anyone take a gift if they've decided they don't want to accept gifts. I was grounded for talking back like that. Am I the a-hole for having told my parents no birthday gifts? Not the a-hole. If they insist on giving gifts anyway, just put them to the side. And when they give you the surprise condition, give them the gift back. It will happen. My in-laws were that way. But I don't think that would make Opie any happier. He gives the money back that he doesn't want to buy school supplies and clothes with, and they'll buy him the school supplies and clothes. Because guess what? He needs them. He gives them the money back for the school trip. And now he can't go on a school trip that he clearly wants to go on because he asked for the money. Better advice would be to get a job, so his parents can give him the money for the school supplies that he can pay for his own school trip. I would be a lot happier because at least things would be predictable. The most frustrating thing about the gift as one half of a bargain, but you don't know what bargain that will be until much later, is the anxiety of waiting for the other shoe to drop. At least that would be predictable. I don't go on the trip, I don't get school supplies, but I also don't get some unpleasant surprise about what I later owe as repayment for the gift. Not day home. You got grounded because they were called out on their BS and they had nothing else to reply with. They retaliated instead. If you don't want gifts or parties, that's your choice. It's your birthday. And if they hold parties and gifts over your head as favors, they are more loan sharks than parents.